Hey everyone, this is Mike Demaro with Mike's Mission and Mike's Mission Podcast Show. So I'm actually going to do a video for you that talks about the review of the 2026 Florida RV SuperShow and some afterthoughts I have and everything else so that you guys can know what to expect and what I feel should change at the show and what should they keep and all that, you know? So I really enjoyed going to the RV Content Creators Summit on Monday before the show. It was a great way to partner up with other content creators, learn from them, and then they also had some partners there too. So I was able to learn more about them and potentially network with them too, because it's something that I feel that it's a unique opportunity to do if you are in the community of the RVing. So, I mean, that is something that is a unique way of doing it. And I feel that, I hope that in the future that we'll have this again because I definitely want to come back and do that. And I like how the badge process worked this year, where you just go and check in. Now, I'm talking about the show badge, yes, where you just go, enter your name, click on the thing, and they'll print it out for you. Because I feel that that's an easier way to check in. That's an easier way to get your badges and all that. You know, I know that some people um, have to check in with someone else or whatever, but I mean, I was able to check in through the computer system because I know I registered as an exhibitor with Anderson's, and then I also registered as an industry day partner. So I don't know, and I don't know if the industry day badge was free or not. But anyways, they had it available online, so that's what I did. And I like how you have the show logo on it and everything else to make it feel like it's a badge that can be used for that show. And we, because in the past if you had this badge, you could get in, no questions asked. But this year, you had the logo on there, the show logo, so it made it a little difficult. But that feature was a great idea to have. Now, the social media mixer with the manufacturers, I wish that they would allow more content creators to go to that. In order for you to go to that, you have to be this level of content creator and everything else. And I just wish that we had more of a chance that allow more content creators to go, you know? And speaking of that, when it comes to media, I'm not trying to down anyone as a content creator, but I would like to say that they should allow more content creators to be able to get a badge and have a meet and greet and all that, and not just look at the YouTube. I know that YouTube is the number one video platform, podcast platform out there, but not all of us use YouTube as much as we should. I use Spotify, and I like using that because of the fact that you can listen to my podcast while you are driving. Whereas if you try to do a video like I'm doing right now, you would have to sit and watch. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to take away from any of the content creators that are out there. They're very good friends of mine. I'm just saying, as someone who thinks about it, you know, the best way of doing it is having the audio version. So there you go. So I really like doing that. And plus, with me doing the audio on Spotify, I can pretty much go on anytime that I want and speak. And I don't have to worry about, is my hair okay, or is my face okay, or is my teeth brushed, or is my shirt okay, or am I wearing a pajamas? Because you don't want to be going on here with pajamas. You know what I mean? Whereas if you did it the way I do it and record the segments the way I do it, then you'd be fine, you'd be okay, and all that. You know what I mean? But yeah. I also enjoyed how the show expanded and they allowed more companies to come this year. You know, you had Pebble that came, you had Novo that came, you had Nuvo, excuse me. You had a few others. Roy's in Tallahassee came. You know, so I mean, yes, in that way they had quite a few boutique models out there, and it was fun to see those. I really enjoyed seeing those, you know, and the fact that Michael Irvin came and all that made it really special. You know, I also want to make a suggestion that if you are a seminar and a seminar presenter, I was thinking, why don't you video record your seminars so that if people are not able to come to the seminar and they are interested in watching it later on, they can see it online, you know? Like, there's so much to do at the show. It was hard for me to go and, oh, I want to go see this seminar, or I want to go see this seminar, or I want to go to this meet and greet, or I want to do this or that and this and that. There's so much at the show that people might not be able to go and catch the seminars. Whereas if you had it recorded, then maybe someone could have the chance to watch it later on. And if they had any questions, they could reach out to the presenters or the organization that presented it with their questions so that they know, okay, how do I do this? Or what do you suggest about this? Or suggest about that? You know what I mean? So, in terms of that, I do like that idea. Now, another idea I have is Martin Luther King Jr. holiday falls on a Monday, right? And that's when I'm talking to all of you guys. Now, at the Springfield show, they utilize President's Day as another day that they could get the business and all that. Now, my thinking is, why doesn't the Florida RV Trade Association utilize Martin Luther King Jr. weekend or the day, Martin Luther King Jr. Day, the holiday itself? That way you could have more people that'll come. That way you could have, if you have a bad weather day, then you would have a makeup day and all that. I understand that people have been there since last Sunday or Monday, you know, and they want to go back home. I get that. And I understand that. But at the same time, don't you want to utilize the holiday and its fact? Not, I know not everyone gets Martin Luther King Jr. Day off. I know that everyone does not get President's Day off. You know, I don't know why. people get I don't know why people get Martin Luther King Jr. Day off, but yet they don't get President's Day off. That is a mystery right there. And they're both federal holidays. So, and that's for another topic for another time. But I just wanted to raise that awareness of that. And why don't they utilize the actual holiday? You know, I feel that, like I've said before, the Springfield RV Camping and Outdoor Show utilizes President's Day because it's another day. And they also utilize it because it's also start of February vacation for the schools in the area. Yes, if you are from New England, if you are from Massachusetts, that is school vacation week. You know, you get one in February and one in April. But like I said before, that's another topic for another video. I'm just saying. All right. So another point I would like to make out is why does the fairgrounds have to have us, like the exhibitors and all that, why do they have us go in through the same gates as the general public and park with the general public? You know, I liked it how it was laid out before, where you go on Orient Road, that entrance, and then you have the different color tags, and that's where you park, right? They have a designated parking area for each of the things. But why do you have us go through the regular entrance with all the people, with the general public, and park with the general public? You know? And that doesn't make sense because some people cannot be parked too far away. You know, why should the people that work at the show have to be parked all the way out? You know? I know that it's a fairgrounds issue. I get that. But at the same time, I'm just trying to say, you know, it's just the way it is. And trying to figure out why does the fairgrounds do it this way and that way and all that. You know, it's just I'm just trying to make a point here about that because the thing is, you know, it's just it just can be crazy. So that's where I'm aiming at for that. And hopefully they'll figure out a parking system where it will work for everybody and everything, you know? And then I also want to talk about the allowing people, more content creators, to get media badges. I know that the FRVTA website for the Super Show, they have they have certain guidelines which people have to follow in order for them to put their to get a media badge for the show. I get that, all right, but at the same time, channels like mine and others might not have that luxury of some of the other channels. And I'm not trying to take away from the people that have the channels. I'm proud of them. I'm proud of their success and everything else. But at the same time, I'm like, why doesn't Mike's Mission get this? Or why doesn't Mike's Mission be able to get a media badge? I know that they also look into YouTube. And I'm like, I feel that that's the number one factor. They look into YouTube. They don't look into the other platforms. I use Spotify. I barely use YouTube, but I'm thinking about considering using YouTube going forward as well. So I can build more in my platform. It's just a little hard for me to do it as a solo person, you know? So that's why I was trying to figure out how can I get that way, you know? Why do you only look at a certain platform and just base it off that? I would like to see it more availability for more platforms and not just YouTube, you know, because there are people that do content and they might not be able to do YouTube videos. Look at my mouth, for example. Do you notice that I might have to have work on this, right? And I don't know if people would want to see my face that way. So, or my ugly smile. That's why, one of the reasons why I mostly use Spotify to go and get the content out there to the people, you know? So I'm trying to raise that awareness. I get it that I might not have the listenership or the fanship that I should have, but I'm trying my hardest to get my mission done, you know? And forming friendships and networkships with the other content creators is something that I'm really proud of doing. I just wish that I had more in the way of marketing and the availability of doing that, you know? And hopefully someday I can become a brand ambassador to someone like Winnebago or Nuvo or, you know, one of the other VN camper companies so I can complete my mission as well. You know what I mean? Yeah. You know, this show has been a great show to go to. And my very first show was 2010. I was amazed at how the show was back in 2010. And I tried to get people to come down and they'd be like, this is the show that you guys need to come to. And I tried getting people in my camping club to go to this show too, because it's like, if you want exhibitors for the Springfield show, you have to go to the show in Tampa because that is where you have all the best exhibitors, the best seminars, and everything else. You know, I understand that I understand that travel time might be a little difficult or time or whatever else, but you know, it's just a great way to get to the show. And that's why you see a lot of people there. I know that people also go to the show in Hershey, Pennsylvania. And I want to say also that I don't know if I've said this on here yet, but I did appreciate the Florida RV SuperShow expanding their show, adding more RVs, and you know, like Pebble did their demonstration. Then you had the Ford Training Boot Camp. You know, you have all these new features, and I hope that they did great with that. You know, so I'm trying to say it as it is, and you know that area that opened up for more content and more exhibitor space made a huge difference. And I actually also like the where they had the social media influencer meet and greets this year compared to where it had it previous years because you have more space and at the building that it was in, you know, it's just it's amazing space. I like the space that it's in. That's where they also had the um social media influencer and manufacturer event, and then that's where they also had the vendor dinner before the show. And speaking of that, I do like the fact that it is on the Tuesday night before the show instead of on the Wednesday. Yes, I know that some people might think, why is that? And all that. I personally, I think having it on the Tuesday night would be a better option. And that way, you don't stay laid out and all that. Whereas you have it on the first day of the show, like you had in the past, then people want to try to relax, and people might be tired out and all that from the first day of the show. And, you know, I'm just saying. But it was a great time, and I'm, I appreciate the event that went on, you know? But I'm glad I'm doing this to share you my thoughts and views. If I had to change another thing, I would like to see more vendors that deal with camping with autism out there or camping with disabilities. I know in the past manufacturers actually had some of their camper models being ADA friendly, you know, accessible, with wheelchair lifts and all that. Maybe that's something that we should expand on to allow more people with disabilities to have that type of space. Or even people with intellectual disabilities and their way of the lighting structure in the campers. Maybe they should have maybe they should be able to have something so that, you know, a system where it doesn't affect them, but it does help them out because they can be sensory friendly RVs, or sensory friendly campers out there with the sensory friendly lighting systems and everything else that is the way it is. I would like to see that happen. It's just, I hope that someday we can get that. And being someone with autism, being a self advocate with autism, I would love to share my ideas with the manufacturers to have them come and think of ideas for people with disabilities and all types of disabilities, not just the physical ones, but the mental ones too. How we make camping easier for people with disabilities. What organizations are out there for people with disabilities? You know, that is something we need to try to raise awareness for. And I'm proud to be a Mike's Mission person and try to expand the mission to self advocate for people with disabilities in this world. So that's where I'm coming from with that. Now, hopefully, some of the manufacturers will get in touch with me and allow me to complete my mission with them and then also give them feedback to what needs to be done. You know? And I hope you guys share this video with all your fans and all that. And hopefully the FRVTA is watching this video too because, I do have ideas how to make the show easier for people with disabilities and how to have how to allow more content creators to be out there and all that. So please feel free to reach out to me. I hope that we can get something done. So thank you so much, and I'll see you guys down the road.